Hello, Camnet viewers. Welcome to the ministry. Today, as you may see that I'm sitting in for the man of God, Pastor Chiluba, who is on another assignment in East Africa. And be that as it may, we are going to enjoy the program today because I've got wonderful, wonderful guests that have come to join us. And these guests are going to be discussing issues that will equip you not only on spiritual matters, but equip you on business. In the studio today, we are blessed to have, I have Robert, and I have Apostle Ilunga there, and I have Aubrey in the studio. And I'm going to ask Apostle to just introduce the guests to the viewers.
Thank you so much. First of all, let me just introduce myself. I'm Barry Ilunga, the president and founder of World Outreach Team Action. This is WATER. We are a missionary organization here in Zambia to mobilize the church in Zambia and Central Africa for the nations of the world.
Thank you.
That's what we are, and today we are privileged to have a team with us, friends who have come all the way from Canada. We have Aubrey, he is the director for Business as Mission Canada. He's with us today.
Thank you.
And then to my left, I have my friend and brother. This is brother Robert, all the way from Malaysia. He's the director for Global Business Incubator.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for coming and just to join us on the program to discuss business. As you may know, viewers, the government of the Republic of Zambia has also been focusing on the issues to do with entrepreneurship, and they've even set aside a ministry for that particular purpose. And this is to promote business in this country. But also, as a church, the church is also focusing on matters to do with not only equipping the members of the church with spiritual matters, spiritual knowledge, and so on and so forth, but also to equip the members of the church with business ideas. And that is the reason why we have these guests in the studio today. So sit back, don't change the channel as at now. If you want to be equipped in the areas of business, this is your show this evening. So stay tuned, and I'm going to go direct into the discussion. Apostle, what is business in this country? What are some of the areas of business that we can focus on, and so on and so forth? So I'll give you the floor to just give us the background to the issues to do with business in this country, particularly as a mission.
Thank you so much. First of all, I want to say that the calling that God has placed on the church, that calling starts with our forefathers. That is Father Abraham. God promised to Abraham that they entered into a covenant. In that covenant, you have two parts. The top line part is God's obligation to Abraham. He was going to bless Abraham, to increase him, to make his name great. And God said, me, God, I'm going to bless you, Abraham. So God is going to do that. There's no doubt about it. Abraham does not need to pray about that. Because that is a covenant. It's a promise, and you cannot doubt God. Whatever he says, he's going to do it. Now, the bottom line of the Abrahamic covenant is, it says, in thee shall all the family of the earth be blessed. That means in Abraham and Abraham's children and children and children, all the family of the earth receive their blessings. Now, when we look at the word blessing there, we are not looking at it just spiritual. It is primarily spiritual, but it is all inclusive. All the blessing that humankind needs for development. As a nation, Zambia is a Christian nation. We are so blessed in this country that we have the church here. And we do not only, I'm saying, we have the church. We have Jesus in this country. That's why the Zambia is called a Christian nation. Because we have Jesus. That means our service as a church includes business. Actually, ministry is business. Ministry is business. So we are here to be able to say some people, God has called them to make wealth. Not everybody, but there are some in the church and outside the church that God has called them to make wealth. For this country to tick, we need to possess the economical gate. This is the business gate. It is time for the church in Zambia to begin to realize if we are going to lead, if we are going to guide this country as a church, as a people that we are expected to be, we need to possess the business gate. That's why we are here in this studio today.
Awesome. And I think I do agree with you in the issues to do with running business in the church. Because the church, usually, as a Christian nation that we are, we have a huge following as a church. And it is important to just equip the following, even just the members of the church, with business ideas. Now, if you look at Zambia in itself, do you think that the members of the church are ready to run businesses in this country?
Oh yes. The challenge, or maybe what is causing the people in the church not to do business, because we think business is secular. Actually, if you are doing business, actually we don't consider you as doing something spiritual, not something of God. Of course, we want tithes and offering from the business. I want to say this. My brother Aubrey is here, will be sharing you just in a minute about business as missions. To mean that what the purpose of the church is existing here on earth and the purpose of the business is the same. So we can do church through business. We can be able to offer and advance the kingdom of God through business. That's why we are here, to share with the church that you businessmen out there, just know God has called you for a purpose. Why are you in this country? Why are you Zambian? Why has God blessed you the way He has blessed you? Do you think you are here for fun? Or you're just passing through unnoticed? You have a call of God. Wealth comes from the Lord. God is the one who brings increase. So some of you who think, oh, me, I'm just a businessman. I want to tell you today, you are called. You are a man of God.
Indeed. And Robert, maybe I want to shift this conversation towards you, just for the sake of the viewers, to just get to know who Robert is. May you just tell us about yourself?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm Canadian, but I grew up in Asia. I returned to Canada to finish my schooling, but my parents were missionaries, and as I observed them do their work, trying to reach a country that was quite closed in many ways. My observation, even as a youngster, really, and you're limited in your ability to understand certain things, but I noticed that they would open English clubs and cooking classes and language classes, and that would be ways to get people to interact with them and to build relationship. And then in that same space that was doing all of these services for the community, on Sunday they would have the service. They would convert the whole building over. And as I was exploring, okay, well, God, what do you want to do in my life? As a young man, I reflected on that and reflected on what I enjoyed, what I was good at. And it was, I went back to those years. My first jobs was as an English teacher. I was able to, I'd get on my bike and I'd ride to this student and that student, and the parents would give me money, and I'd save my money and so on. And so, you know, I was good at that, and I enjoyed it, and I still, at that point, I still did. And then the idea comes, but Lord, do you want a part of that? And this is getting in part to what my friend here was saying, that it started dawning on me that my gifts, my abilities, even my desires, if I was truly to live under the lordship of Christ, all of those were His. Not just the fruit of them, but the activities of them themselves. And so at that point, I realized, okay, well, I have a responsibility to steward what I can do. And so I equipped myself to become a teacher, and then started running and operating language schools, and eventually went back to Asia and did that. That moved into various projects, business consulting eventually, cultural consulting, and got into trade. But all along the way was this understanding that every opportunity I've got is something I am responsible to steward. And a key breakthrough for me was when I met another person engaged in business as mission in this way. And he explained it this way. Everything I'm doing is something God has given me responsibility to do. It's His. The profits are His. The losses are His to some degree. If I am struggling with meeting my month end, you know, my bills, my payroll, and so on, that's a problem I bring to my boss. My employees may initially think I'm their boss, but I have to remind them that God is my boss because I'm running this business under His kingship, under His lordship. And it revolutionized my way, because even until that point, I was running a business for God. Well, take the fruit of it, Lord. But I had this aha moment where I'm actually operating His business with Him. And the fruit comes from that. And there's we can talk all sorts of models and of how to use your business to impact your community. It's not just responsibility we have if we are wealthy. Even the entrepreneur, when you start, what are you doing to make sure that everything I do, we're told this, right? That in all things, whatever you do, do as unto the Lord. So why does that exclude our work?
That is quite interesting, because in some sections of society, the way business is done, the way you've explained it appears as though it is that easy, but it is not that easy.
No.
Maybe before we go into the details of it, let's let the viewers know about Aubrey as well. Aubrey, may you tell the viewers who Aubrey is and what you're doing in Zambia today?
Certainly. I'm Aubrey, and like Rob, I actually was born and raised in Canada. And you know, my experience with Business as Mission really dates back to, I graduated with an undergraduate degree in agriculture. I was working in agribusiness, and I had a friend come to me and he said, Aubrey, have you ever considered working in full-time ministry work? And my response to him was, well, I always thought I was in full-time ministry, I just happened to work in agribusiness. And so I've always had that perspective of God's called me to business, and I've always had the perspective that I'm representing Him in business. And as my career progressed, and I got, you know, I went up in the organization. I was in an executive development program, and it was a major moment for me when I was in that program, and I was meeting with people. There were 16 of us in that program, and I had the others that were in the program say to me, Aubrey, we want to hear from you because of your faith. It's not something that we share, but we want to understand, you know, can you speak into our lives? Here's what we're facing. Tell us about your faith and how you would interpret that for us. And so that really helped to change things for me. And as that went on, I was in more and more senior management positions, and I really was pastoring a lot of the people in and through my work already. And I worked for a multinational finance company, and I worked in IT. So there were various different roles, started in agribusiness and all the way through. And I always had that perspective. But back in that day, you either worked in full-time ministry work or you did something else.
Business completely.
Right? Or it was business completely. The two weren't joined together. So my career advanced, and then in 2015, I actually started to get involved with people who were doing missional business in countries around the world. And that was the first time I'd even had, you know, any exposure to missions. I'm sure it was talked about in our local church, and I supported missions, but I never went. I never went and saw, because you do either ministry work or you do other work.
Yes.
And never got involved. But as of 2015, when I started to get involved with these businesses, I started to see, oh, my business experience really can help the kingdom of God, can help people flourish through business. And, you know, although I was concerned about, you know, poverty in many nations and that sort of thing, you know, I did know that, you know, it's really been business that's done more to alleviate poverty than any of the donations that anybody has ever sent, any of the U.S. aid, anything like that. And so I'm a big believer in business. I'm a big believer in God. I'm a big believer in our faith, and we can be in ministry with God to help, you know, do His work in helping people flourish in the world.
Indeed. Well, viewers, this is a phone-in program. You will be asked at a later stage to just call in and ask questions or make comments. And the numbers to use will just be running through your screen, just at the bottom of your screen there. So stay tuned and stay with us. So now, as I circle back to you, Apostle, Robert here was talking about the issues to do with business being for God. Do you see businessmen and women in Lusaka viewing the business as for God?
Yes. At the moment is the change. We are looking at actually a paradigm shift. Everything will have to, it's like changing everything. Where we tend to look, we tend to go. If you tend to look at the wrong thing and the wrong theology or ideology, you do it wrongly because you are looking at the wrong thing. And now that we are beginning as Zambian, I want to say that our country is blessed. We are starting with something very new. For example, our brother Robert is here. We are going to begin to incubate businesses, ideas, to fruition until into business. So the incubator we are putting up together here in this country to bless this nation, to bless everybody. That is from an idea thing to incubate it after maybe several months, maybe 7 to 8 months or so, we'll be able to incubate businesses. So we are saying that believers can be, those who are already in business, we have entrepreneurs. We are actually calling you entrepreneur, we are calling business owners, we are calling the academia, the universities, the colleges, the Bible colleges, we are calling the church, we are calling the mission in this country. That all of us, we are going to mobilize you. We are starting the mobilization process to sensitize and to equip people to be able to understand that business as missions. I'm not talking about missions, a business for missions. No. We're not looking at supporting missions. We are saying business itself is missions. So that's, I believe, Zambian will be able to do it.
Maybe just make it clear for the viewers and also for myself. When you talk about business as missions, what are you saying? Are you saying that you are reaching out to people through businesses and ministry at the same time? Or you are using a business as a way of attracting other Christians that they can also do business? Make it clear for me and also the listeners and viewers out there.
Okay, you know what? We need to redefine a lot of terminology.
Yes, please.
That we have actually put in the box a lot of terminology such as ministry. Ministry means service. Can you do is business service?
Yes, it is.
If it is ministry. So we have to be able to unblock those words which people have defined and put them in a box. To say ministry means you have to be a pastor, you have to be an evangelist, you have to be a teacher, you have to do this. No. Ministry is a ministry, service to humanity. So we are saying your business can be actually be a place of your business, the marketplace, be the place that you can be able to express what God has put in your heart to advance the kingdom of God. First of all, look at this. I can employ people in the company. Look at people like Bariki. You have a Bariki as a believer. You have Bariki, maybe 2 of us, we put up a company like Bariki. All our workers working under Bariki, we can actually pastor them. We can help them to do business with Christian values. We can help them to understand why they are there. So we can actually pastor them. So you do it as ministry. That's why I say business as missions, not to fall. Business itself become the ministry.
Okay. So now there are certain members of the church. I'm going to push a little bit back, Apostle, on this one. There are certain members of the church. Probably I run a business. Okay. And I want to employ some people into the business, and I just go to the church and say, I want this one, and this one to come and work in my company, because I'm a church member of a particular church, and I also go to that same church to go and recruit a workforce from that church. Is it the same model you are actually forwarding?
No. That is wrong, completely wrong. I'm not, you know what? What we are doing here, we are talking about the church being the salt of the earth.
Yes. Yes.
We are not the salt of the church. No. It's like people think we are discipling the church. No, we are discipling the nation. We are the salt of the earth. We are the light of the world. Get me clearly. The Bible says you are the light of the world, not of the church. So we go to the church, to the world, to recruit people, not in the church. Because when they come, whatever they are, when they come, they will discover we are salt. You cannot stay with me and remain the same. How possible is that? You cannot be my son and begin to do the other thing. No, because I'm the salt. I am the light. So employing people, employ them in the world. Don't worry who they are. Bring them in. As long there's something dynamic within us. We are Christians. There's something in us that Christ has put in us. When the unbeliever come close to us, they begin to change. They begin to see Christ in us, the hope of glory. They begin to see the values that we treasure so much. They begin to see our faith that we so much treasure being expressed in our day-to-day living. That's what we are talking about.
So before we even just go into the idea of incubation, that's the reason why I'm pressing so hard on the apostle, because I want him to lay the foundation on which we're going to build on.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to add on what he has said with regards to the business as missions?
Yeah. Not because I have anything to correct. There's just there's a lot to be said. First of all, we talk about it in the church today. First of all, let me stop there. Church. We're using a lot of that word, church, in the church, out of the church. The church, we are the church. Church is a we, not a there. Right? It's not a place. I think biblically we can understand that. We are the church. And so wherever we go, we are the church, and we bring Christ with us. And it's a decision that some perhaps in business have made to say, well, here I'm not expected to be the church, so I turn that off and I turn it back on Sunday. So there's something, as I heard our Apostle Barry speak, I'm like, this is scary. It's a little intimidating, because it means I have to have my light turned on all the time.
Indeed.
It might be easier to hire other Christians from my own church who know how holy I look on Sunday, and then they're very gracious with me Monday to Friday.
Exactly, yes.
And there is that temptation. And so it is a paradigm shift. But it might be a bigger one, but the paradigm shift starts with me in my heart saying, oh Lord, I need your help. I need your help for you to be Lord in my life Monday to Friday. And perhaps Sunday is when I need to come and confess how I've fallen short and ask you to give me the strength I need to keep going and be assured of your consistent, abiding presence, and the promise that you walk with me in this life. I want to walk even closer to you because I messed up living under your lordship as a boss this week. So, I mean, that's just a starting point. We can go so many places on this, but that's the start.
I think it starts, as the apostle told us, it starts with our theology of work. God is a worker. God does work.
Indeed.
And he invites us into that work. First of all, he's a creator. He's invited us to be creative with him. So all of you creatives out there, you are doing God's work by just being creative. You can have relationship with him, relationship with others, but you're being creative. God's a providential God. Those that work in agriculture. So that's what my degree is in. I didn't work on a farm or anything like that, but those that work in that field, you are doing providential work. That's how he provides for us. Think about it. If we didn't have people working in agriculture, where would we get our food from? Right? That sort of thing. And you can go on. He's a God of justice. Those in the legal profession. So I think it all starts there. Restorative. Those that are doing, I don't know, plumbing or restoring furniture or doing that kind of work. That's God's work too. And then there's his redemptive work. How do we bring that into the whole equation as well?
I like what I've picked actually from the apostle myself, and what Robert and what you've added, Aubrey, is that you are redefining the way ministry is being done. You are breaking the walls, the limitations that have always been there. And that's what I'm getting. And if we are going to go through with redefining business in the church, there are certain vices that actually businessmen, I can call them that, are very successful, but yet very corrupt.
Yeah.
Because now they're using corruption as a vice to win tenders, to win businesses, and how will you come in to sort of redefine that sort of business, Apostle?
One of the things we have to look at, have we received Christ only as Savior? Is Jesus our Savior only? If he is only our Savior, that means he's going to be meeting our needs of sick, we are healing, providing for us, whatever, because whatever is redeeming us and whatever, then it's okay. Then we can keep on confessing every day. Today we are Christian, tomorrow we are not, and so on. But we are talking about Jesus as Lord. That we can set the Lord in our heart as Lord. So as Lord, we are to obey him all the time. And then at times people think you can be a Christian on Sunday or on Monday you are a businessman. Because you are a businessman, you have to be crooked, you have to be corrupt, you have to be dishonest again, you have to do all kinds of things that can't believer. So that you come again and make confession on Sunday. That's not Christianity. We don't worship God on the mountain. No, in Jerusalem. Remember the Samaritan. He was talking about worshiping God on the mountain. We have to define worship. Do we worship God on the mountain? Or do we worship God in Jerusalem? Jesus said God is seeking for true worshippers that will worship him in truth and in the spirit. We don't worship on Sunday. We don't worship on Saturday. We worship the Lord all the time. We walk with him. In him we live and move and have our being. That's what Christianity is all about. So you can be a businessman who loves Jesus, who projects Christ in everything you do. God is the one who grants favor. God is going to favor us. God is going to give us what we're going to do. We don't need to be wicked in order to prosper. No. Prosperity is from the Lord. That's why you find people when they see you are prospering, they think you are a Satanist.
But be that as it may, there is corruption that has been institutionalized. You go to this institution to register your business, they'll tell you, you need to give me so much for me to register your business. You go and you see a tender and your company qualifies to apply for that tender so that you can run that business, you can win that contract, you can't get it because there are people who are saying, you need to give me something.
You know what?
So how do we break that chain?
With us, first of all, I want to confess on behalf of all the ministers of the gospel, we haven't done well, not that much. One of the things we want to do, we are doing here is we are saying, my career become the cause. Huh? You can use your career to fulfill God's purpose for your life. And we have actually a project right now, like with the Ministry of Education. We are involved with the Ministry of Education after we are in partnership with government. In the Northwestern Province, we are trying to empower even the teaching community there. How they can be Christian teachers. People think teaching is not sacred. My career become the cause. That's my motto. For that I say, my career become the cause. You can be a Christian lawyer. We have so many Christian lawyers in this country. That's why they are there, to help the poor, the underprivileged. Our God is a God of justice. So being a lawyer, you are fulfilling the call. It's one part of God. It's like when you look at God, you can't define God. When you come to, you can see Him as love. You can see Him as a just God. You can see Him as merciful. You can see Him as a creator. You can see Him in every way. God is a creative God. That's why we are looking at wealth creation. Because God, that's part of God, to be wealth creation, to begin to create companies, businesses. And we are going to incubate them. We are providing a place for incubation. Where you have ideas, you are finishing your university, your colleges, wherever you are, God has put in you some ideas of what you're going to do. The Lord has brought this for you, that this country will be a blesser of nations. This is Zambia in Africa. There is God in Israel. There is God in Zambia. I so believe. If that is the case, there is God in Israel, there is God in Zambia. The world will know that when you come in Zambia, you are meeting a nation that fear the Lord. Whose the Lord is God. We are going to have resources when they will go and bless other nations of the world. But it has to begin with you, who love Him, who is going to be honest and make Him as your Lord.
And I don't deny that corruption is a problem. Right? I totally get that. But I do not believe that all Christian business owners or all those businesses are corrupt, or that they desire to be corrupt. No problem. It's a problem. There is a problem there, but it's not all. And I think it's that fear that all business is corrupt, has to be corrupt. It doesn't. Like the fair exchange of goods is, God designed. That's how we can live. Again, I go back to our work, right? If we view our work that way, and I think it's just really giving more power to those that are not corrupt to say, you're doing God's work. Keep going. God's with you. Expand, grow. Right?
This is not a new concept.
Christian thinking. There is a Christian thinking. Many times you go where people are sitting in the board, you wouldn't know whether you are with Christian or non-Christians. Even in the church, you are in the board meeting, you wonder whether it's a Christian board meeting or it's a political board meeting or whatever it is. Even when you are in the leadership of the church, at times you wonder whether you're talking to the bishop or you're talking to who are you talking about. And there is what is known as Christian thinking that we must bring back to the table. To we are Christians. We are born again. I mean, this is not just a claim. God has transformed us. Changed the way we think. There is a way a Christian think. So, I do not think when you are born again, you're going to be corrupt because you want to get a tender. God does open the door. He makes a way where there seems to be no way.
Malaysia has done so well in terms of business and entrepreneurship. Singapore and so on. Just part of that of Asia has done so well. Singapore is a model of how businesses have been have uplifted the lives of a lot of people in many countries in Africa, as well as just around the world, because those businesses have extended beyond just Singapore. Now, let's go back now to the meat of our conversation, and that is business incubation.
Sure.
What is business incubation, Robert?
Okay. So just when we were in the back room before we started, we had a little interpretation, shall we say, right?
Yes, yes.
So
I was thinking,
yeah.
it's incubating eggs. We're
Right.
bringing machines and you want
That's
to
right.
incubate. You know?
While that's valid, and someone needs to do that,
Yes.
that isn't what we're doing, but it is that word is used on purpose. That word incubation is used as a metaphor. So what an egg incubator does is it provides protection. It gives opportunity for the right temperature, the right climate.
Yes.
When we think about an infant's incubator, it allows room for the medical professionals to control the environment, to protect the child, to create a place and even create conduits for nourishment, so that baby can reach maturity, a viability, and health, and even vibrancy. Basically, in short, an incubator exists to ensure whatever is being incubated has the best possibility for success.
Indeed.
A business incubator exists to ensure an entrepreneurial enterprise has the best opportunity for success. So we create this safe environment for people to test their ideas, to get feedback, to get the nourishment, encouragement they need before they enter the real market. That's what an incubator
Is it any different from a pyramid scheme? Because just right here in this country, we've had a lot of people coming up with ideas of pyramid schemes. Give me 3,000 kwacha, maybe for your quick thought on that. Give me $3,000 and I'll make $35,000 in 10 months.
Wow, amazing.
Is it any different from that?
Well, okay, to understand business incubation, it's not a new thing. And there are different sectors that they exist in. So some is industry specific. Okay, so let's say an energy company has their own incubator where they are exploring alternative energy technologies.
Yes.
Okay, so in that sense, their incubator is almost like their R&D, their research and development department, whatever the field is.
Yes.
Then you have incubators that exist in the academic space. Many business schools or engineering schools, whatever, will have incubators where they find the brightest and the best ideas, and students have to apply, and if they are successful with their idea and their pitch, they come in here, they get extra help from professors, they get, perhaps the professors get professionals from the industry to come assist. And then there's this third model, which is a standalone incubator, where people apply. Typically, you do have to apply to get in. Those are the three main models. In all three of those models, they are typically not-for-profits. So I'm saying this in relation to your question.
Yes.
Right? It's not-for-profit. That's part of the protection. Now, not-for-profit doesn't mean there's no revenue. On the contrary, it does require revenue, but not-for-profit status allows you to receive grant money. It allows you to receive corporate social responsibility funds, CSR funds, and it allows you certainly to receive a payment for service. Some incubators also work with an understanding that whatever has been incubated through their service, they keep a small piece of the holdings of that company. But it's I get your question about how similar is it, but it's not. Incubation is not, this is what we want to start, this is what we're doing, this is what we're selling, you can do it too, why don't you join? It's the opposite. It's somebody coming alongside you, Ryan, and saying, I believe in your dream, I like your idea, I would love to help you refine it and plan it and get it ready and then help you find the funding you need for it.
Oh,
that's what an incubator does.
That's completely different from a pyramid scheme. Aubrey, do you think that with the little knowledge that you have about Zambia, do you think that can work in Zambia?
Absolutely, I do. I think it can work in any country, but specifically in Zambia, and that's why I'm back. I was here and we met with a number of folks and we first introduced the whole idea of business as mission through a course that was offered through WODA. And that was done online, and then said, well, let's come and let's talk about that. And there's something about meeting in person, right? And we're able to do that now. So we talked about that about 7 months or so ago. And now I've brought Rob with me to say, yeah, this is something, you know, in talking with the Apostle and talking with WODA, this is something that could really make a difference in Zambia. So that's why I believe in that. For sure.
Apostle, can it work in Zambia? Business incubation.
It can work. It's actually, we are starting. Today we are the whole day. Or with people from Eastern, from Northwestern, from Lusaka, Copperbelt. We converged here in Lusaka for a day just to look at ideas, with people with different ideas, business ideas. They came, we talked, and we, after the end of the day, we saw the possibility that this can start. After those are the starting point, those few will be able to make up their first. Will go through that incubation, just right here in this country. And this is going to be a blessing to the whole nation.
So are you training people in various businesses? So for example, I want to go into metal fabrication, for example. Do I get the training, or do I get the funding, or do I get what do I get with my idea? When I bring my idea, what do I get? Okay,
look at this way. First of all, you go for training, maybe at the university, wherever you are. But when after you complete, you come up with an idea of how you're going to set up a business. That's why entrepreneurship comes in. We're not talking about when you go through the college that you want to go and work as a manager. In another company, it's already established. We're talking about somebody has an idea to create a new business. Whether in whichever field. Whatever the field is, we'll be able to welcome such and be able to put them through an incubation where others of like mind who have been successful will work with them to be mentorship. At the end of the day, some startup may be able to be found somewhere and have somebody begin the business.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Apostle. Any last words from you? Because there's another guest who's going to join us on the set. So any last words from you so that we can bring in another guest so that we can pick it up from there?
What I would say is that this is a new day that the Lord is doing a new thing in this country. It's very humbling for me that I've lived to see this day. This is what I've been wanting to see happen for the past 40 years. I've been working with the Lord and trying to do ministry here and there, and as a loner, shouting in the desert that we can make it, it can happen. It has just taken so long. And now the time has come that we can equip every gifting in the church.
Indeed.
And that's what I want every gift, every person to know that God has called them to serve. This is a blessing for Zambia. And actually, at the moment, I'm about to leave this place, and the one who's coming is my second-born son, because he's an engineer. But I believe that he's a Christian engineer, and they can do ministry as based on what they don't need to go to Bible college to do ministry. What you need is to understand that Jesus is Lord. And if you can understand that part, Jesus is Lord, and you can be able to steward whatever God has put in you, you can do ministry. So right now, he's coming, he is in charge of what is known as a co-training service, of which even the incubator will be under that. And he's the man that I believe he can explain to you better than myself. Because now, at my age, I'm on transition. I'm working with them so that I'm going out. I'm working myself out of a job. And I'm doing it under the fear of the Lord and wanting to do what the Lord wants to do. So that the next generation of people are blessed. What is the church going to look like 20 years from today in Zambia? Well, how is even the government, how is the government going to be like in the coming 40 years? What kind of president are we going to have? I believe this is a Christian nation. It was declared by God's providence. The nation was declared Christian. I believe we will live to see Christianity in all spheres of government, and the business will be done honestly in this country. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Apostle. Well, viewers, thank you for staying with us. We'll be going on a break, and we implore you to remain tuned in, because where we are going now, we are going to go into the details of incubation. With a guest that is coming on set, he's going to explain the incubation process and how it's going to work, and how you are going to benefit from such a program. So stay tuned and see you after the break.
Good news, good news. The rains have started. You need to plan your future. Generation Wealth is the way to go. Has grafted avocado plants fruiting within 2 to 3 years for sale at only 90 kwacha each, and ordinary avocados at only 45 kwacha each. Contact us on 0979 753010 or 0962 965 883. We are open from 8 hours to 17 hours, Monday to Friday, at Healing Word Ministries International in Ibex Hill, opposite Hilltop Hospital.
Welcome back, viewers. Remember, this is the ministry, and we are on set. We've been discussing business as mission, okay? And we had the apostle who was explaining the background of the idea of incubating businesses right here in Zambia. And on set, I introduced you to Aubrey, who is coming from Canada, as well as Robert, who's coming from Malaysia. And the new guest on set, his name is Mundemba. Pardon me. All right. So his name is Mundemba, and he will introduce himself and explain to us who he is and what he does and how he plays into the discussion of today.
Thank you. So my name is Mundemba Kembe. Professionally, trained as a quant surveyor from the Copperbelt University, and I'm here in a capacity as an advisor to World Out Steam Action. I advise the board on a number of issues, and particularly also I'm the coordinator for code training services, a program by World Out Steam Action, under which we are doing the business as mission and the business incubator, which is under discussion this evening.
Indeed. So you have followed the conversation, and we are still at a point where we are trying to understand what business incubation is. There is a viewer there and a listener out there who wants to understand how I have this great idea, but I don't know where to take it. And that is where you come in with the support that you can provide to that person who has a business idea. What are some of the things that you can explain to that individual who wants you to incubate their business, to train them through the business and to run that business?
Okay, thank you. So as we are talking about business as mission, what we are basically saying is that every Christian, in whatever capacity and in everything that they do, they're doing is as unto the Lord. So whatever you're doing, whatever you're in, whether it is work, whether it's business, it is mission. That is your mission field. So like it has been earlier said, we are the church, we are the temple of God. So everywhere we are doing the mission of God. And that is service to other people, to bring the good news, to set a good example to other people. So to do that, and what we're encouraging people right now, especially believers in the church, is everyone, those who have got the entrepreneurial mindset, to get into business and to understand that getting into business and doing business is actually part of the calling of God on a person's life, and that is service to God as well as to other people. So what an incubator basically does is many people have got ideas, but how to bring those ideas, to put them into action, to launch them and make them, bring them to fruition, so to say. And that is the process where now the incubator comes in. With your idea, when you come into the incubator, some of the things that happen first is to help you define your goals. So we're not telling you what to do. We're not telling you what type of business to do. We're not telling you what type of idea to have. You are coming with your idea, and we're helping you to develop that idea so that it makes market sense, so that that idea can be commercialized and it can be profitable. So one of the things we should get in the incubator is you've got a business, you're about to start in a business. You need to know things like taxation. How do you do your taxes? We connect you with other people who've got practical experience, who can mentor you through the processes. We connect you to a network of other people who may be doing the similar business with you, other people who may actually be the customers to the service that you want to offer. So the incubation period, I think by Mr. Robert said, he gave it as an analogy of the actual incubator, where we talk about when a baby is maybe prematurely born and they're put in an incubator. It's a period where your business idea is put in a safe environment where it can grow. So at the time you launch it in the marketplace, it is sustainable.
Now, you're from the agriculture sector, and here in Zambia, what usually happens is that we have extension services, where you have a piece of land, and someone comes to you and tells you, here is the seed. I'll give you the seed, I'll give you the fertilizer, and you grow. I'll be monitoring what you'll be doing, and I'll be training you, because probably you don't know about this plant. I know about, maybe for example, cabbage. I know how to grow spinach or any of those plants, but I will give you the seed, I will give you the fertilizer, and I'll train you. Is it the same model?
No, it's not really. So that is a technical or a vocational type of skill. But they're coming alongside you as an expert in that area. But then you plant the seed and you get the end product. Then what do you do? Like, how do you know that it's being profitable? How do you know that you're going to even make any money, that you're going to be able to sell it? And so through the incubation process, one of the keys is we start right with who is the paying customer, and are there enough to get there? So that is a piece of it, and we expect people coming into the incubator would probably have some kind of a vocational skill, whether they've learned something from their parents or their family, whether that was in school, but they, as Mundemba was saying, they have an idea. I see a need here in the community, or I see a need that's not being fulfilled, or not being fulfilled very well. I think we can do a better job of that. And so we take them through something that's called the business model canvas, and you consider all of the different areas. And Mundemba mentioned, taxation. Well, finance is a big area. Most people don't know how to keep their personal finances and their business finances separate. Right? They've got two pockets, right? But if they're owning the business, oh, well, I'm out getting groceries or something like that, or I'm out for the business acquiring this. Oh, which pocket did that come out of, right? So we do some training around that. And then how do they get to profitability? When are they going to break even and get to some profit, and be able to sustain the business in the long term? I think one of the stats that I saw, like 85% of new business startups that do not go through an incubator aren't in business in a year or two. They run out of money. Okay, they haven't had all of the pieces brought together. But 85% of businesses that have been through an incubator will still be in business in 5, 7, 10 years.
Indeed. Robert, there's one elephant in this room, and that elephant in the room, that elephant in the room is finance.
Yeah.
Capital.
Yeah.
I have an idea, but I don't have capital.
Yeah.
How does the incubation process work?
It's a big issue. I frame it, there's a simple, quick answer, but I'm going to avoid that one for a minute. I'll get to it. I think that the first way we help, an incubation process helps with it, is get realistic goals for your capital. For example, we've worked with someone recently, not in this country, but in another developing country, and they came in with what they thought was a $2 million US plan. At the end of our first week of sessions with them, they went away. We challenged some of their assumptions. Our job isn't to tell them that's not going to work. That isn't our job. They go away and they come back for our second week, and their new plan was $200,000. So one way going through incubation helps is set proper goals. We just saved them $1.8 million. Okay, so that's the first part.
Yes.
And now the obvious one. We have to help you network to find the finance you need. Obviously, a big part, one term we use is bootstrapping. So that's basically find what capital I can get. In entrepreneurship, we talk about the 3 Fs, and that's where you first start. Are you familiar with that? Friends, families, and fools, right? That's your first source of funding. And of course, if your family has a little bit of money to throw at this opportunity, they're happy to pitch in. But for many of us, that's not enough. And so we need to find investors, and in the business's mission space specifically, and that's the space we are in, there are investors who are looking for entrepreneurs who are pioneering God's work through their business, and they do want to invest in it. And we haven't highlighted that that's a significant part of Aubrey's job, is to network with such people and bring them into the path of the incubator. Part of the role of the incubator then is to help the investor understand the entrepreneur, and the entrepreneur to understand the investor, because everybody has expectations. So we help moderate some of that. So that's obviously another way that we help. That was the obvious one. That was the elephant.
Yes.
But the first one is one, in a way, theoretically, I knew that to be true. It's only as we've been incubating projects have I seen it actually happen, where a big piece of our help is helping you set realistic goals. And consistently, we're able to cut projects' budgets. So now they're asking for amounts that, for some, it's still an astronomical amount, but it's more attainable.
Would you advise a startup business to venture into loans? Because in this country now, we have what is known as the Constitutional Development Fund, and it's a huge talk on where governance is concerned. It's a huge talk, and people are being advised to apply for the Constitutional Development Fund as a loan. So could that be part of the incubation process?
Absolutely, yeah. It's one of the things we prompt you to explore. Does your jurisdiction offer loans? And many governmental jurisdictions, particularly now after the pandemic, governments all over the world are wanting to stimulate the economy, and they are realizing small business is going to be more effective than big business, because big business aren't hiring the people back that they laid off. So they need to find a way to equip these people who've lost their jobs to become more enterprising. So absolutely, that's a great solution. The question, though, and this is where we would help, is just because I can, does that mean I should? Because debt load is a burden. So you have to balance that, and you need to process that with someone. And an incubator is there to help you process that.
And that's an important part, Rob, as well, an important point to make. The incubator will help you, know how you're going to be able to repay that loan, right? And even that repay capital. We've got capital to invest, and if it's for yourself or to one of those friends or one of the family members, they're going to expect the money to be returned to them. So the incubation process and the financial knowledge that we share through that process helps you to ensure that you're going to get to a stage where you can pay the money back as well. You know, or pay for a loan if there's interest.
I think Mundemba would understand that also we have a lot of financial illiteracy in this country. How do you intend to navigate around financial illiteracy? Because there are certain people, as you may be aware, you're from the engineering school, you're given a contract and money is paid in your account. The first thing you want to buy your dream car before you can be on site. That is financial illiteracy. So how are you going to navigate around there? Because I heard from Robert that you can help around with who would be interested to partner maybe with that particular idea financially. So how are you going to come in with the financial illiteracy part of some of these individuals that have great ideas?
Oh, thank you. That's a very interesting question, and it's very practical. And it goes, looking at an incubator, it goes to one of the core principles in an incubator, which is the part of mentorship. See, an incubator is different from an academic training or a specialized workshop. An incubator does not focus much on the theory of things, but more on the practical application of things. So in an incubator, the focus is not even on definition on how you should, what is business principles, what is finance, but is how do you act now practically under finance? How do you practically work out financial discipline? And that is where the incubator comes in. During the incubation process, you're actually mentored. You actually even get the opportunity to meet with people in the same industry where you're working, who give you practical experience. They will share their stories with you to say, from new events, not from, say, maybe a theoretical position, but they'll give you actual information and realistic information so that you have realistic expectation, even how to respond. Because sometimes it is a part of human nature. If for a while you haven't touched a huge amount of money, and all of a sudden you feel like you've got excess of money under your control. But through incubation, you are taught how to handle, how to respond to situation. So when that happens, the incubator has already prepared you for that. So you're not getting surprises at every corner. You're not getting surprises at every end. Through the incubation, you are exposed practically to what to expect. So
are there safeguards to how finances will be managed between the incubators and the business owner? Are there safeguards? Because if you give me an investor and that person pumps money or into the business, and the following day you cannot reach me, my phone is off, I'm in the village, in the bush, enjoying the money that I didn't even work for. Are there safeguards to that?
There are safeguards, but I think I'm safer to allow
Robert. I'd be happy to. Thank you. There are, and that is part of the role. When I mentioned we help moderate between investors, and that's a big part. So what does that contract look like? And usually the contract includes safeguards. So sometimes the investor wants to sit on the board as a non-voting member. Certainly they want us, when the money comes in, they want us to vouch for as a third party to some of the activity regarding it. So it's not just the mentorship and coaching and training that we offer. It's unfortunately we also know human nature.
Yes.
Which is I think what you're getting at.
Yes.
And so our job is to walk alongside. And we have a number of examples where that's been an important function. But we're able to walk into this with everything on the table. And so there's no surprises. But your experience is a very real experience. I mean, you shared almost as a joke this one, but we had one investor who that was his experience, and he said, "I want to invest again. I'm willing to try again, but last time, once I gave the money, I lost all contact. I have no idea what happened. And this time, I want to work through the incubator because you are offering me some assurances that when I did this alone, I didn't have."
Indeed. So we are looking at the investor who is Christian and is interested in business as mission. We're looking at an innovator or someone or entrepreneur who is a Christian and is willing to receive that money and invest it or multiply it in a particular business.
Right.
Aubrey.
Right, and we and we work with them to, as Rob was saying earlier, is it even something that you want to get into, you know, into that relationship? What are your alternatives for finding funding in that? But there are a number of worldwide, there are a number of Christian investors who are interested in investing with other Christians that are doing God's work in and through their business. And of course, I'm sure that there are those here in Zambia as well.
There are a lot of people who want to go into business in this country. Business has been a platform that has been discussed in a lot of governance-related issues. And I can assure you, there will be a lot of people that will call, even after the program, to want to find out more about how they can reach you and how they want to get involved and in all business that you are supporting. On the other hand, there are other people who are sitting and thinking, this is a great opportunity to scam. You know, I'll pretend as a Christian because, I mean, how are you going to know if I am born again, spirit-filled, I am ready to do business in the church? Because there are people who come in the church and they are not truly born again. How are you going to navigate around that?
Well, that's a great question. One of the things that we haven't talked about is the kind of incubator that we have.
Yes.
Is how do our spiritual disciplines play into our, not only our lives, but into our business? How does prayer feed into that? And you know, I'm sure people could come in and maybe be involved, but I'm not sure that they're going to sign up for a program that has that aspect to it.
And,
right?
and it's not just theory. Like, we're walking this out over many months or even years together. So they would have to be quite proficient and very committed to the long game.
Okay, quite interesting. Mundambi, you want to add on? You know what happens in business these days? There are a lot of people who want quick fix. They want a quick back. They want to make quick money. How are you going to navigate that? He has already mentioned the area of working through for a very long time, but there are people who are committed. How are you going to go around that? Maybe just a slight contribution to that before we invite the callers and as well as those that would want to text into the program. Please be ready. We'll be inviting you shortly to call in and to text in, and we will read your messages right here live online, and you can call us and we will be taking in your call live in studio. You can ask as many questions as you can within the framework of the program. Yes, Mudambi, we were talking about people who may want to go into this incubation without genuine reasons.
Okay, thank you. I think that is an interesting question. And like Mr. Robert said and as Mr. Obler said, there is a process. And part of that process for the incubator is first there's a training of understanding business as mission. Because the core, I think the core point is being missional in business, doing business mission. So even before going into the incubator, there is a process where you have to understand business as mission. So it is not a quick fix item. By the time you're getting into the incubator, you should have understand this. And you also have to understand on another point that the incubator itself is also a mission. And I strongly believe if someone even wants to come there as a scam, through this process, I think if they will feel the impact,
they will get tired along the way.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah.
That's what you're saying. They'll get tired along the way.
Not necessarily get tired. They might actually they may even join as a scam and end up as a genuine participant in the program.
They may become a believer.
Yeah. Right. Now, let's try and sort of bring in a business in this discussion. Let's bring in a business and let's look at the steps that you're going to take through this business. Here I am. I want to start a business of, say, for example, agriculture. I want to grow maize, which is a staple food in this country. What are some of the steps? Let's move. Now we've redefined what this process is. We've talked about business in Zambia. We've talked about incubation. We've talked about the finance aspect of it. Now let's look at growing maize. I want to grow maize for sale as a business. What do I do? Aubrey.
Well, I was just going to defer to Rob because he gets those questions for all kinds of businesses.
Okay.
Okay. So I believe we start with the customer.
Yes.
Okay, so rule number one, if you do not have a paying customer, you don't have a business. Okay?
Yes.
You can have a customer who doesn't pay and lots of product for them, but that's not a business, that's a charity, and that's legitimate, but that's not what we're talking about. Okay? So you start with the paying customer. If a paying customer is what I need for a business, I need to know what my customer wants. I am not a fan of creating a product and then trying to convince a customer that they need it. That hard sales. Any of you out there who've done sales and you're trying to sell someone something they don't want, it's no fun. So the process is made much easier on yourself if you can start with the customer. What does their life look like? What are their needs? What is their problem? And to what degree do they feel pain for which I can offer a solution? So we'll look at maize.
Yes.
Okay? You can find maize anywhere. Like you said, it's a staple here. So what is the pain I am trying to solve? I'm not really trying to solve access to maize. So is it the price? Is it quality assurance? Is it service? Is it packaging? Do they just want brand power? There are all sorts of products that fall into that category of a crowded market. So you've chosen an interesting one. It's a crowded market, high demand, everybody needs it. So I have to find a problem that some customers, enough customers that will support my business. I can find a common problem for them and find a way to solve it. So maize, when it's a common product like that, maize is only part of the solution. So what is that other problem I'm trying to solve? Am I trying to offer maize specifically to people who live a long way from the shops? And so do I want to offer delivery? I don't know. You have to contextualize the issues. But we always start with the customer and their problem first. When you do that, you change your whole perspective on it. Right? Most entrepreneurs are orientated to start with their product. I love my product. I spent so much developing my product. It is so beautiful. It will solve this problem that I'm sure someone has. But I loved building this product. And now that I've built it, I will go find somebody that will buy it. And they spend so much on marketing, so much effort on sales, they may never find the customer. So you start with the customer.
I like how you've sort of responded to that because I have noticed a lot of innovators because I saw just the way you were explaining a lot of innovators find it hard to get into the Canadian market, the American market. Is it something that you can explore, Aubrey?
As far as access to markets,
yes,
that is one of the pieces. So as we define the customer, the next piece to that is: are there enough of them in that niche that are demanding that to make your have your business be profitable. And if there aren't enough locally, then okay, where else do you need to go? And some of that may include export activity to first of all, the countries right near or right around where you are, and then or it may be overseas to a U.S. market or to Europe,
or to Malaysia.
Or in Malaysia.
Right, so
Yeah.
so that is part of the process in the whole, how you're going to get your product to market, the distribution.
But I will say the further you are from your market, the more challenge you have. Because it's not just access to the market, it's understanding the market. You go back to that first comment I made, it's about the customer.
Indeed.
If you don't know your customer, how well do you know the Malaysian customer? So you have to rely on somebody else who knows the Malaysian customer then. So it adds a layer of complexity. I won't say it can't be done. In fact, I would say half of the enterprises we help incubate fall into this category. But they have to find that bridge to get them close to the consumer, their end users market. Yeah.
And that's the beauty of the incubator, is that you understand that beforehand, before you've spent a lot of money going down a path that's not going to accomplish anything.
It's more like other people have already done that before.
So
you don't have to go through the learning process when other people have already done the learning for you.
Yeah.
You're talking to people that are in that same business, and what have they experienced, and you're learning as you go, as you build your own business.
Interesting. Well, viewers, you are welcome to participate in this program. You are free to call, you are free to text at this point. Please call in and ask as many questions as you can. Text, if there are any texts, we'll read them online, and my guests here will be able to respond. I have Aubrey here from Canada, and I have, I'm failing to pronounce the name, Mundemba. I don't know why in my mind there's Mundambi, I don't know, Mundemba. And I have Robert from Malaysia, is it?
That's where I reside, yeah.
That's where you reside, but you're from?
I'm Canadian also.
Canadian as well, okay. So these are the guests that we have in studio. So please call in and text in, and we will be able to respond to. If you have any idea about your business and you want someone to help you through the process, please bring it on. The guests are ready to respond to any question that you may have, and even to just meet with them and participate in this great program. Yeah. So, what comes after this program? How will the listeners and viewers look out for you? Where are they going to find you? We have a caller on the line. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Okay, we seem to have lost that one. Yes, you were talking about how they can reach out to you, where you found, and so on and so forth.
Okay, I think more information will be given after the program, but World Outreach Team Action is based in Chingora. It's a ministry, but we are working with different and other partners, different other churches and church bodies. So I think there will be a lot of information available out there for people may want to connect to us. You can find us online. There's a website for water. If you just do an online search, and the information is available. The
online, or what is the website? Water standing for?
World Outreach Team Action.
World Outreach Team
Action.
All right. Thank you so much. We have a caller on the line. Good evening. Good evening, caller. Good evening. How are you?
Good evening. How are you, sir?
I am well, thank you. You are live on the ministry. Thank you. Go ahead with your contribution or question.
Yes, it's a good program.
Edgar is the name. You are calling us from Solwezi.
Yes, yes, Dr.
Go ahead, Edgar.
Yes, I'm trying to find out what the issue of the legislation and also what the issue of how this budget was meant to English, particularly the fact that it's written as an English and just from how they try to reach the private sector and government issues to create a content in also issues of growing in the country. Yes.
Okay, just repeat, Edgar. Just repeat what you said, because we were trying to get what you are saying. I heard you talked about president and the private sector. Just repeat what you said again. Maybe we'll try and get you this time. There's a problem with network there. Sorry, Edgar, but if you can call back, we will appreciate to take your call again. Please do call back. Do we have any text messages? If you have any text messages, please send them through and we'll be able to respond. In the studio, I have guests that have come to discuss the issues to do with a business incubation right here in Zambia, and these guests are ready to listen to you and to take on your ideas, and also to sort of agree if that model is workable or not, or simply redefine some of the objectives. So I've heard. So what are some of the things that you have done before? Has it ever worked elsewhere apart from what you want to do here in Zambia?
Yes, there's several examples we like to talk about. One in part of Southeast Asia, where there was a gentleman who was launching a chicken roastery restaurant, and he came through the incubator, went through that, and at the end, all that was holding him up was a little bit of investment dollar, and we were able to connect him with an investor that put those dollars into that business. He launched the business, and that's only been within the last year. There's another one.
It supports him, his new baby, his new wife, his ministry plan, and he has others that are joining in his operation and saying, okay, through your project, I can also help you reach, and this is to reach people who are considered unreached peoples. So, it's effective.
Have you tried? I think that's what I was trying to get from Edgar. Have you tried also to engage? Maybe I would ask my brother here, Ilunga, to also respond to that. Have you tried to engage the Ministry of Small Scale and Small Scale Enterprises?
Okay, first maybe responding to your question, one thing that I would like to say is that this business incubator is for Zambian businesses. So every business that is launched through the incubator is actually contributing to the growth of the Zambian economy.
Indeed.
And to Zambia at large. And I think it has even been the discussion lately in Zambia. There's been an emphasis. That's why even these new departments have been formed to encourage enterprise, to encourage new businesses. And this incubator is actually facilitating even some of those objectives by the government to have more people. So if the government, even like through, as you talked about, the fund, the constitutional funds, is giving that money to the constituents, to the citizens. Now, what do we do with that money? You know, we were talking earlier about human nature. Some people just misuse the money. Some people will launch successful business, but after 6 months or 8 months, the business will go down. So now the incubator actually now works in line with the objectives of the government to help support the people starting in business and now to launch those business and sustain them, not only for a year or for 2 years, but sustain them even for a lifetime and pass down the future generation. So when we talk about business incubation here in Zambia, What we are doing is actually not independent from what the government's objectives are. We are actually direct and indirect working together with them. Because some of the members who will join the incubators, some will be civil servants, and some of the services that some members of the incubators will be putting on the market as businesses will be services which shall contribute directly to the governance and to the economy of this country.
I'm a civil servant, like you said, and I'm giving you an example. I'm not a civil servant, but I'm saying I'm a civil servant, for example, and I have money. Can I bring the money and you find an idea that is workable? And I just sit and wait as an investor? Maybe I throw it to Robert.
Sure. I mean, Aubrey.
There are different ways to be able to do that if they are. We talk a lot about having patient capital, right? And so if they're patient in that capital, there are different places where that money can be invested. We know different organizations that do that, not specifically just for Zambia, though, right? It's around the world.
But as it relates to say somebody's coming through the incubator and there's somebody with capital, they want to invest in Zambian startup.
Yes.
Questions that we would ask is what parameters would you have? Is there a particular type of business that you'd like to invest in? What requests or requirements might you have on the return, on the repayment return? And so those are things that we help work on. And so absolutely, we would, there are people there are investors you've been garnering relationships with for years.
Yes.
And for many investors would know that that they keep their their finger in many pies at the same time, right? They keep their options open. And so sure, we would love for them to consider the incubator and whatever is going on here in the fruition of time as one of the options they keep a beat on, and to see if there's a good match for their investment philosophy.
Yeah, because not everyone is good in running a business. So others will just want to
seed it.
Just let me give the money to Ilunga here, and he will invest it. He'll give it to someone with a great idea to run the business. And I will be sort of, like you mentioned earlier, a non-voting board member and things like that. That would be a good idea.
There's a second one I'll throw out there for an investor. I'm throwing seed here. Is a lot of investors are not as interested in the initial incubation stage. They want what's called the acceleration stage. So that's somebody saying, I've got a business, I've gone through incubation, I've established that I have customers that pay, I've established that I can care for the little bit of money I've made, and I'm ready to grow. And many investors are very interested at that stage. So they're working with someone with a track record, someone who's proven that there's a market, and all they're missing is capital for growth to scale. And so that's a different type of investor. So we've talked all this time about incubators. There are also accelerators that exist to help people for that second phase.
Oh, so they've been trained, and you've equipped them with the knowledge that they need, financial literacy, and sort of the business that will be going in. And then there's an investor who comes at a later stage of that process. That is the accelerator.
That's once the business is going. So they've established that I can earn customers, I can keep customers. But in order for me to go from my 100 customers to 2,000, it's a big jump. But it's one action will move me in that jump. For me to move incrementally doesn't make financial sense now. So I need to move from manufacturing in my house to getting space. And if I'm going to get space, I'm going to get enough for 2,000. For example, And so someone says, okay, you've proven that you can work hard. You've proven that you can find the customer. I've seen your papers. I've seen your plans. I agree with you that you know where that 2,000 number is. I'm going to get you there because all you're missing is the finance. So someone in acceleration does not need as much training.
Okay, so well, viewers, we are almost coming to the end of the program. We are still out here, so please send in your messages and send in your voice calls. We'll be here to respond to them. But before we go into the epilogue of our program, some of the issues that we've discussed today are some of the practical issues that most of startup businesses experience right here in Zambia. The issues of capital, which has been dealt with severely in terms of the source of capital that you may have, and that idea that you have, you can share it with the panelists here. They will give us the details, the contact details, where they can be reached, and you'll be able to have conversations with them for as long as they're in this country. So let's take advantage of the ministers of the gospel that are willing to do business right here in Zambia. Now, how do you protect ideas, Ilunga? How do you protect ideas? I've come with my innovation. It's great innovation, and I know this idea will generate money if I share that idea with a financier. How do you protect those ideas? Maybe if I give you an idea, Ilunga, you would run away with my idea. How safe am I with my innovation?
Okay, your idea, first of all, it is protected. There's a high level of confidentiality during the incubation process. And also one of the things you get to learn even during the incubation is intellectual property, the intellectual property of your idea and how to secure your ideas. You learn about trademarks for what you want to do. And that is also part of the initial training that you get. So that even before you actually launch up, like we've been discussing here, you said earlier on that some incubators, depending on the agreement that they're from the start, may have a certain percentage of the business that you're going to do. So once you start that incubation, you're not just coming there. There's an agreement that actually is signed and entered into as you begin the process.
Thank you so much. Now, viewers, we have come to the end of the program. I've been informed that we've come to the end of the program. This has been very, very exciting and very educative, and hoping and praying that you have gotten one or two ideas, and that idea that you have on the shelf, that idea that you have sitting on your paper somewhere, that idea, someone can monetize that idea. Please share that idea with the panelists. Your last words, Robert.
I was hoping you'd ask. I have one word.
Indeed.
I'm going back to the beginning of our conversation, and in particular something you said is a paradigm shift, definition, playing with definitions, and you referenced worship being massaged. I'll use my word there. The word I've got is avodah. A-V-O-D-A-H. It appears in Scripture, in Hebrew Scripture, more than 1,000 times. The interesting thing is in English and in many other languages, when it's translated into 3 different words based on its context. So the translators said, well, this doesn't work in this language, but in the Jewish mentality, in the Hebrew mentality, avodah meant worship. So we talk about the priests doing avodah. It meant service. Right? So that avodah was expected of the church in the community, and it also meant work. So when Paul is instructing servants to work for their masters as unto the Lord, he's using the word avodah. So that idea of it being messed with, I would argue that through history, we're the ones who've messed with it. That the original text argues that work is worship. What I do for work is an act of worship. And the converse is also true. There are times I don't feel like worshiping. I don't feel like coming to church at times. I confess. There are times I'm tired. I've got other things on my mind. And there are times when the act of worship is also work. And equal energy ought to be put into both, because I'm doing both as unto the Lord.
Yes.
And in fact, they're one and the same. So avodah is my last word. Look it up.
Abuda.
Avodah.
Avuda.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Yes, Mr. Ilunga, any last words?
Yes. What I would like to say is business is mission. Whatever we are doing it, like I said, as service to God, as worship. So that means in whatever you do, as an so stated earlier in this program, to say that everything that we are doing, we are worshiping God. So whether you start a business, whether you're working in whatever portfolio that is worship unto God. So in everything that we do, in everything that we engage in, we need to have the mindset to know that we are constantly worshiping God. So we're not only worshiping God on Sundays, or during crusades and conferences, or prayer meeting, or midweek Bible meetings. We are worshiping God every day of our life.
Aubrey?
Yes, I think I would just like to say that, Jesus, most of his miracles took place in the marketplace. And Billy Graham, when he was still with us, he said he believed that the next great move of God would be in the marketplace. And I think we all own that together. And business is certainly a big part of that marketplace.
Indeed. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So much. Well, viewers, thank you for staying with us. This has been a great show. I have learned a lot. I have a business idea that is still pending on the shelf, and it's going to go through the incubation process. And I hope and pray that you and myself will be meeting during the trainings through the incubation process. God bless. This has been the ministry. Keep watching CamNet TV, because CamNet TV is not just another channel. Shalom. Shalom.